Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Meet the Players session. I'm Peter Hodgson from iHeart Guitar. I will let you guys introduce your good selves.
I'm Jeremy Barnes from Jeremy Barnes, and over here is James Ivanyi from James Ivanyi. Thanks for being here. I think it should be called James Ivanyi and the Liams.
Yes.
That's just my 2 cents of it.
So we're going to have a bit of a chat about the state of modern guitar, and we've got 2 of Australia's finest modern guitarists here. I think you guys should maybe give us a little bit of a demo of what you do respectively before we start talking, because people need to hear you guys play.
Do they really?
Yes.
Am I going to do something here?
Make those noises.
Make the noises that... sound like computers. I'm not gonna hit James. So I'm loving having 24 frets again, guys. Go. D, sorry.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try whatever Jeremy just did.
Oh, come on!
There you go. So, something that I think characterizes both of your guys playing is that you are freaking fast, and you aren't necessarily just drawing from the kind of bluesy inspirations that a lot of guitar players have. You know,
there's more of a kind of...
Just turning your vocals up a bit.
Thanks. There's more of a diverse kind of inspiration going on there. What kind of elements went into your guitar style, and when did you feel you really had it together?
You go first, because I'll borrow the mic later.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I actually grew up as a kind of a classic rock kid, listening to like Zeppelin and AC/DC, Sabbath, all those kind of bands. And I feel like there wasn't really any real choice to go into the more modern, fast, heavy stuff. It just kind of naturally progressed as I wanted to challenge myself more on the instrument. So at heart, I feel like still like a rock and roll kid, just, playing Back in Black in my bedroom. Only it's gotten harder over the years. So yeah, it's kind of how I feel. James still plays Back in Black, but it's just in odd time signatures now. Yeah. Now played in 9. So, yeah, I'm actually a lot older than James. So, funnily enough, that my parents used to listen to a lot of ABBA and Peter, Paul and Mary and all of that. So my dad's a classical guy and folk guy. So there wasn't a lot of rock in my house. So I kind of discovered that myself. When you become a rebellious teenager and you grow your hair long, which worked out great for me. So I kind of discovered that then, and I sort of started to find around the time where I started playing late. I was 15 when I started playing, and I'm 47 now. I know it's hard to believe, right? And I just sort of discovered bands like Judas Priest and Dokken and all of that sort of stuff. And as far as feeling like I've got it together, I never feel like I've got it together, even after playing for 32 years, which I think is a good thing. Because I think the minute you figure you've got it all together, you stop learning. But for me, what happened was I realised that I could do this. That was very natural for me. Like, I didn't have people say, what's your tips on speed picking? And I don't know, because I could always just do that. Oddly enough, and it wasn't from other activities. I know what you're all thinking. But so for me, it was just a natural progression down that road, and when I heard Malmsteen, doing all of that sort of malarkey, I was just like, I think I can do that. And I just substituted my own stuff in there until I figured it out. So
that's me.
So we're all guitar nerds here. We're going to want to talk about gear. Now, you've just joined the Chauvel family.
Yes.
So, we were just talking before the show that you guys are both playing guitars that are, twin humbucker, no locking tremolo. There's some similarities and some differences there. So let's talk about where you guys think this guitar design has evolved to and what it does for your style.
I think technology. I'll go, James. Sorry, man. I think technology's made a massive difference in guitar because Fender Stratocasters and Fender Telecasters are still amazing, and they haven't changed those designs in 60 years because they got it right. But when you write crazy stuff like James writes, you need to have more options. And when you sort of try and do some diverse stuff, so I think where it's got better is pickups, or just precision, I guess too. Like with CNC machines now, and everything's machined very, very precisely, and things are, all the hardware's gotten better. But I think electronics and things like pickups and the discoveries that we've made in winding things, and you can put a lot on a guitar now. So your Strat is, and I have two Strats, so I'm in love with them. But when you get a guitar like this and James's Sir, you all of a sudden have a lot of options. So you can do this sort of thing now, or if you want to go into Strat land, you've got all of the options of splitting pickups and coil tapping, and so I think technology's made the Strat thing a lot better. Plus 24 frets. Did I mention I'm enjoying having 24 frets again?
Yeah, I think just adding to that, I just saw this guitar for the first time this morning. Just like what's available in certain price ranges. This guitar here looks like a fully decked out, roast maple neck guitar, top of the line specs, Mexi made, I guess not, unaffordable to a lot of people. It's crazy the quality you can get with guitars these days.
Yeah, that.
Incredible, yeah.
Yeah, I think when these land, and they haven't landed yet, but I think when these land, they're going to be under $2,000.
Yeah, awesome.
So this is the brand new Charbel. There's a few of them hanging around on the stand. They get released officially in October. And it's a lot of guitar, and I think if you go to the Charbel website, they're like $1,350 US. So it's insane.
Yeah. And James, you've got this lovely Sir here, which you just got. Yeah. And I like how you've got a kind of vintage and modern vibe there with the checked finish and everything. Tell us about that.
Well, this guitar is essentially, I use a Stratocaster style guitar on my albums for most of the recording, but most people associate me with another guitar, this black modern guitar that is the same model as this. The idea with this was to kind of get more of the best qualities of that Stratocaster, more vintage style guitar into this design. It's the classic nitro finish, so it feels kind of elastic and it really vibrates through it. It feels very resonant and nice. I guess similar to what Jeremy was saying, it's got from modern articulate tones all the way through to the kind of classic more nostalgic tones with the modern playability of stainless steel frets, the roasted maple neck, all that kind of stuff. So this guitar, when I thought of it, was really just how can I get all the best stuff of that more classic guitar design, the nostalgic Stratocaster stuff into this modern instrument, which is what it is.
Now, you guys were saying before the show too that your guitars are both set up very similarly. You've got the strings,
children action.
Yes, the strings effectively below the frets. Yeah.
Yes. I think it's a fairly common thing for players like James and I. Do you do a lot of tapping, James?
I do.
Yeah, so it's all of that. Over the last kind of probably 10 or 12 years, have gotten into a lot of the multi-fingered stuff, so I use multiple fingers on my right hand. The lower and looser it is, the easier it gets. And it's funny, when I set my guitars up, because I mostly set them up myself, and I know you just played this. That was like a 2-minute setup out of the box. I just wound those down a little bit. All of a sudden you have, complete access to craziness. So, and so when you're doing that, I do a lot of hammer-ons from nowhere. And I don't know if you guys know what hammer-ons from nowhere are, but it's when you hammer, so what I'm doing essentially is changing strings with the first finger on this hand, which guitarists don't do a lot. Usually what we do is we we leave that finger on and kind of use it as a capo, you know, so it doesn't sort of leave the fretboard. But, and you know, I'll bring this guy on because this helps with the overtones. Hammer on from nowhere is, so you see what I did there? So I'm changing, every time I change strings, I'm actually changing with the first finger, which allows you to do some just ridiculous stuff because there's no seam. So what I mean by seam is you can't hear the string change. So I'll do it slowly. So when this finger comes off, this one's going on. So if you look at a 1 octave of, sorry, I talk too much. Sorry, James. If you look at 1 octave of an E minor scale, I don't care what technique you use, you cannot play those 8 notes that fast with any other technique. So you know, and then you can play a pentatonic scale like this. Watch this. So you got this set of notes. You can't play a pentatonic scale like that with any other technique. So the action just helps with that. So like when I set these guitars up, I wind it down until it buzzes, and then I bring it back up just a little bit. So, what do you do, James?
I've just always had a really low action just because I love the way it feels. Is this a stainless steel fret guitar?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I find you can get away with a bit more. You get more of a percussive hit out of a lower action on a stainless steel fret, more of a glassy sound. Absolutely. So I guess it's helping with the hammer-ons from nowhere.
Yeah.
I've always used relatively light strings as well. I use 9 to 46s, and I just feel like you can get away with a bit of a lower action on.
I'm a 9 to 42 guy.
Oh, extra child's gauge.
Yeah, extra child.
Yeah.
That's what it says on the box, I think.
Yeah.
Extra child. No, okay, I won't say that. It's a family show.
Yeah.
So, James, I noticed you're rocking the Fractal AX8 over there. How do you, I mean, one of the cool things about this kind of device is that everyone uses them differently because they can do so much stuff that it's like, this is what I'm using it for. This guy's going to use it for just effects or just amp, whatever.
Sure.
How do you use it?
So I use it really in 2 ways. One way is with my real amp rig, which I use at home, which is a Friedman B100 thing, and I use it in the 4-cable method, so for just effects, and it works wonderfully for that. But the way I'm using it today is direct to the speaker with all the modeling on. I'm not much of a tap dancing guy on stage. Like anything that distracts me will totally throw me off. So I have it set in global preset mode, which is basically where I can just push one button and it turns on everything at once for the 4 kind of key sounds that I use. Which I'll show you. So starting at clean. The clean sound that I use is not that exciting. I go for that Fender Twin, scooped mids, kind of big and boomy sound. But Leslie on everything at all times.
Has that got chorus on it, James?
No, just Leslie.
Wow.
Yeah. So in stereo, that sounds really nice because it kind of sweeps left to right across the stage. And so the next 3 sounds are all the same amp. So they're the B100 model that I am used to and use in the studio. And so Pete Thorne actually helped me capture the IRs of that and get it all dialed in exactly the way I'm used to. So this sound is more of the low gain kind of lead sound that I'll use. That's kind of that, yeah. And then basically the same patch but with all the effects off. So just nice and tight and, kind of chunky. And then just the lead sound, just that nice taking influence from that John Petrucci big kind of majestic silky lead sound. That kind of thing. So that's it. Those are the 4 sounds that I use live. There's a couple of, like, I can turn all the effects off within each preset, but that's it. The only thing that I haven't got here is like the wah pedal that I abuse hideously at all times live. So yeah,
I have a couple of questions for you. Is that all right?
yeah, go for that.
So when you're at home in Sydney,
Yeah.
do you use something else for gain with your Friedman, or do you use the amp gain?
No, just straight into the amp. Straight into the amp.
So the gain's always coming off that, or the gain's always coming off the amp?
Off the amp.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so like I only use, this is basically only used for effects at home. I have the XFX2 like in a rack in the studio that I'm mainly playing through if I'm, playing through the computer or recording, that kind of thing. This thing just kind of I use for a bit of delay through the Friedman. Most of my guitar playing for enjoyment just happens through the Friedman.
Yeah, cool. How close is the B100 simulation to the real thing?
It's pretty close. It's pretty close. Like, nothing beats sitting... I mean, I love real amps, of course I do. I can't help but feel like they are going a little obsolete as we move forward, unfortunately. But still, I mean, I love sitting in front of my, 100-watt arena amp in my apartment and just playing it. That's what I like to do when I play guitar. There's no substitute for hearing it through the cab and the smell of expensive Tolex and all that stuff. And I love that. But it's very hard to justify, bringing quad boxes around these days, and I don't have the hips for that at this ripe age anymore. Especially when it sounds that good. It sounds good enough. It gets the feel, I think, pretty close. That's mainly what I look for in a tone, is that it makes the guitar feel good. It doesn't feel kind of stale and stiff.
James's neighbours listen to him whether they want to or not.
Yeah, they do. So yeah, it's just wonderful. Like like coming here from Sydney with a backpack and it all sounds kind of covered, like less anxiety attack patch cables and stuff like this.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I think it's good. I love it. Really happy with it.
It actually does eliminate that when that pedal isn't working and you have to unplug the whole damn thing.
Yeah, my bass player, Liam, who's sitting there, I watched him go through that anxiety last night in rehearsal when things just stopped working. That moment where you stare down at the pedal board like, oh God, every second is taking an hour.
Mind you, Liam has 4 pedals. His whole rig weighs like a kilo. It's about the same weight as the program that he's holding. He just showed me. It's amazing. I kind of went the other way, Pete. I did and I love all of that stuff. And, and I've got that, sort of set up in my studio at home because there's noise associated with this. In my house, in my home studio, there is anyway. So, but in January last year, 2018, I went back to pedals for the first time I was using, it'd be over 20 years, so I was using rack mount Marshall stuff, and then I went from there to, the more, Line 6 stuff and XFX stuff and even Zoom stuff, you name it, I used it. And then, in January, I was doing a lot of festivals and with various different artists, because I've done that over the years. I've done the session thing, and on a lot of those festivals I found, and especially country festivals, I was the only guy using digital stuff, and there was a certain something that these other guys were getting with analog pedals that, I wasn't hearing it in my own playing. So in January last year, I went back to pedals, which was weird. I'd been thinking about doing it for a few years, and but what I need is versatility. So obviously I don't have as much versatility as an XFX, but so I pretty much I've got a tuner into a compressor into the little wah, which James and I were talking about just a second ago, which is like that big, which is amazing. And then I've got 3 drive pedals in a row because I'm a guitarist and that's what we do. I just got the new Pugilist distortion from Fender. If you guys haven't tried the Fender stuff, the new Fender stuff, it's ridiculous. So go and have a look at that. And a couple of delays, and that's that little tiny little thing is the delay that lives on all the time. And this I just use for various different things if I'm playing with an artist who has like a big washy delay sound. So, and I just, the amp is always clean, sort of platform. And everything kind of sort of comes from the pedals, so So that's kind of stage one, and then you go into stage two, and this is the new Fender pedals. Just give me some volume. This is the new Fender pedal. Didn't know Fender could do that, did ya? So there's just simple. It weighs 6 kilos, so I can zip it up and pretty much get away with everything from country, to classic rock, with the same pedal. Because I've discovered as I've got older is a lot of sounds are in your hands and in your guitar. Because one of the most amazing things about a guitar volume knob is it doesn't actually start affecting the volume until you get down to about 3. Before that, it just thins the gain out. So it's kind of like having a few different distortion pedals. I haven't touched anything, I'm just turning the volume knob, and then from there on it actually affects the volume. So if you haven't messed with your volume knob, do that.
So I find it interesting that it's 2019 and a lot of people are using 2-point tremolos instead of Floyd Roses. They're using, a lot of Strat style guitars and stuff. Then there's like the wacky headless things and stuff. But
Which I love too.
20 years ago, I would have thought like guitar today would be super, super high tech. But it's like the technology is being distributed in specific areas and we're going back to the best of the other stuff in other areas. Where did you think guitar would end up compared to where it is now?
Wow. That's always an interesting question because I think one of the most amazing advances in guitar has been finishes that they put on them. But yeah, I mean, I kind of thought that guitar would kind of do what I thought there'd be weirder shapes, When I started playing at 15, which was a long time ago in the 80s, I thought there might be, I didn't know how well this would stand the test of time, but it has. Yeah, exactly. And there is tons of weird shapes, but I really just get drawn back to this sort of super Strat all the time. But as far as what can be on board a guitar, I do think it's in the future. You're going to have preamps and series parallel switches and little buttons that you engage to kick in a battery, and so you can have a lot more stuff on board than I actually thought. I didn't think about that stuff. So yeah, you can get a ton of options now.
Well, the Gibson Firebird X had all those effects and things built in, and that was a raging success.
What are you thinking, brother?
Well, I kind of missed that, being born in the late 80s, I missed that kind of era of guitar a little bit. But it just kind of seems to me, observing it, like so much of the heavy lifting burden was put on the guitars to get the most out of the sound that guys were going for. Like you had these active pickups coming into it and, locking tremolos and all that kind of stuff. So I just feel like now, with, gain being seemingly limitless, across amps and digital rigs and all that kind of stuff, I feel like some of the burden has been taken off guitars to do all that heavy lifting.
Yeah.
So we can kind of go back to more of that kind of nostalgic setup, I guess, which we're both pretty fond of, like the Super Strat kind of design. So yeah, it just, you can get the performance and playability out of guitars like this these days and have a plethora of units doing all the heavy lifting for you. I think that's kind of where it's going.
I think the way it works is whatever John Petrucci's doing kind of filters into whatever everyone else is using.
Yes, that's true.
So the guitar has a piezo system there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us about what you guys are up to musically at the moment.
You go.
Sure. Well, I've been doing the kind of solo instrumental thing now for about 5 years, and it's certainly become the main gig.
And amazingly, I might add.
Too right. So I've been working on a new record for coming up on 2 years. So yeah, it's been quiet this year with touring and gigs for that reason, really. I've just been locked away working on that. Happy to say that it's nearly finished. Hoping to have it done by early in the new year. So yeah, that's what I've been up to, apart from like the occasional session gig, which I do from home, and I do a lot of work over Skype. mainly production, helping guys do their own EPs and learning the ropes of self-recording and self-producing, which is a wonderful thing that anyone can do now, relatively inexpensively. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Looking to hit the touring pretty hard next year, but until the new album's done, just trying to lay low.
Can you drop the name of the album, James?
I cannot, because I don't have one yet.
I thought I might get us an exclusive. But, well, it's been a wacky few years for me because I've just done a lot of session stuff, and people keep asking me for another record, and I've got probably 15 or 13 or 15 tunes recorded that I can actually release, and then I've just written a bunch more for this actual show. But my friend and amazing drummer Pete Drummond and I, after talking about it, because he plays in a little band that you may have heard of called Dragon, who are the hardest working. Everybody's got to shut up now. They're the hardest working band in Australian music. So.
My new album intro right there.
You wrote this, didn't you?
I did. Yeah. Let's jam it. Yeah.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The time is
One
now
sec.
12 o'clock and there will be a 15-minute break on all amplified sound. Repeat, a 15-minute break on all amplified sound. We appreciate your cooperation during these 15 minutes.
The train on platform number 1.
Yeah.
So of recent times, we've written a bunch of stuff, so we're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to record for the rest of the year and do a bunch of touring, and James and I might even be able to talk him into doing something together with me and my band. But I'm also going to be touring with Thomas Lang. I don't know whether you guys know Thomas Lang. He's a ridiculous drummer. I've just played a few tracks on his record.
That's awesome.
And now I'm learning the rest of it because we're going to do some touring in the US early next year and Europe and Asia later this year. So he's a monster dude to play with. I'm gonna play a couple of tracks off the record this afternoon on the Charvel booth. And it's just ridiculous. It's just hard to listen to any other instrument when you hear what his feet can do. So just recording with a new band, and I'm going to get James to do some guest solos and make the whole thing sound good.
So what are you doing throughout the Melbourne Guitar Show? Appearances and performances and...
Yeah, so obviously this morning, today...
Times, I mean.
we're... Oh, sorry, like times and stuff? Yeah. What you said? Oh, so my band is playing today on the Whammy Bar stage at 2:15, I believe. The whole band is here and we'll be playing a full set, so that'll be fun. And then I'll just be kind of hanging out and enjoying the show. This is my first time here, so I'll just be kind of cruising around. And then tomorrow I'm doing a clinic with Boss on kind of tone design and going into that kind of stuff. And that's at 11:30 tomorrow morning. So yeah.
And if you haven't seen James's band, go and check. It's ridiculous. 2:15. It's just the escalators are right next to us, right here. Just go up the next level and turn left, and it's right above us. And Liam will be. The Liams will be there.
We have one here.
So one of the two Liams is here. So, but no, the guys are amazing. I'm after this, I'm just going to be cruising around. So hang out with me if you want. I'm going to be on the Charvel stand at 3:15, playing some tunes, some of the new tunes, and then I've got my band show with Pete Drummond and a guy called Nick Delaney on bass. We're 1:15 tomorrow upstairs where he's playing this afternoon. So that's us.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bummer that we can't do amplified music at the point that we kind of figured.
The urge to just like throw out the power chords right now is so real.
Does anyone have any questions?
Oh, I just noticed a very rare T-shirt of mine with my face on it there. Hilarious.
Nice.
How are you? Andrew, right? Yeah, good to see you, man. Yeah. This T-shirt that he's wearing, I once wore a video game T-shirt to a gig at this game called Metal Gear Solid. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with it. I thought nothing of it, but of course then the internet took over. And a complete stranger made this design of like my face in the theme of the video game, and now it exists as a T-shirt.
Is there lots of them, or just
There
one?
is not lots of them. They're very rare. I've only seen a few.
Do you have one?
I do not have one. No, I do not have one.
That's the best.
Yeah, that's funny.
You've got something that he doesn't have.
There you go. I'll buy it off you. Yeah.
This is just, I
I just opened my wardrobe.
Yeah.
Morning, I just pick up the random one.
Oh, this is fine picking.
267 of
Oh, well, you picked well. Very stylish today. Very fashionable.
Yeah, more than that. I just picked up the random one. Let's see.
Mate,
Picked up the random shirt from his
Yeah.
wardrobe full of J&I shirts.
I love it. I love it.
I've got one of those.
Yeah.
Question. What's the most important for you in the music?
What's supposed to...
What component?
What component of my music, or when I listen to music, or...
Your music. Like,
Maybe I'll answer both of those.
yeah, like groove or, whatever component.
I guess the only thing that matters to me when I listen to any music is a sense of sincerity about what's going on, whether it's, across any genre or whatever it is. You can usually, I think there's a kind of sincerity aspect that comes through the music, to the ears, the human aspect that we all kind of pick on when we, are hearing something sincere that isn't faked or forced or trying to be something like that. So that's really the main thing that I am kind of, my ears are looking for when I listen to any kind of music. And I hopefully that kind of comes across in my own music. The music that I make just feels best to me. Like I sincerely enjoy making it. So it's the greatest joy that I have in life is making that music. Whether anyone likes it or not is kind of irrelevant. I just would rather not be doing anything else than making that particular music, because that's what comes most sincere to me. So yeah. What about you?
How you came up to this? Like when you just started, was that music sincere already, or how you came to that particular?
That's a good question, man. I would say that probably less so in the beginning, like most of us. I think a lot of us imitate as best as we can to try and get a little closer to the sounds we hear in our head. I would say now, since I've been doing the solo guitar gig, I definitely feel like a stronger sense of sincerity about what I'm doing. Because I came from playing in bands, and I guess that's just one of the components of playing in a band. You're just one part of many, so there's often lots of sacrifices when it comes to stylistic direction or, just the process of making the music. So, yeah, always try to hold on to what feels most sincere and best. But, yeah, I guess it was when I went solo and I just had full control over everything that I really felt the most sincere version of my music and playing was coming through. So, yeah. Yeah, thanks.
There's something about both of yours guys' playing that I think you're very entertaining to watch. You have the crazy super fast thing. James, you've got the real you can watch your fretting hand all day and it's very expressive. Some players it's like they'll just stand there and play, but you can really see that. It reminds me of like a classical violin player or something where you can really see the emotion going into it through this hand. I think that's. A lot of players forget to be entertaining, and that's the difference between sitting in your room making videos for YouTube and playing for a crowd and getting people cheering and dancing and stuff.
Yeah, I think that just comes back to the sincerity thing, hey? Yeah. Like, when you're trying to... A lot of bands you'll go and see, you just kind of see, like, the whole thing is aimed at trying to be a particular, thing that doesn't really seem to be coming naturally from the people playing it. Yeah, I'm glad it comes across that way. I'm always just trying to play as best as I can and concentrate as much as possible on, letting the good time flow through me and not worrying too much about the mistakes or the imperfections in the playing and that kind of thing, which I think a lot of guys really panic about, It's like before they know it, the gig's over and they weren't really there for any of it.
Yeah.
So I just try to have fun and play lots of bad notes and not worry about it.
That's a great point. When you stress too much about... we all started doing this because it was fun. We enjoy it. And I think there's a period in all of our lives as young players where you kind of forget that and you want perfection. And then what you do is you squeeze all the music out of your music. And so, I'm with James, and a lot of what we're going to do tomorrow is we've got 2 minutes per song of music that we've rehearsed, and the rest of it we're improvising. it's a really improvisey gig, and that's where I'm at these days, because it's fun, and I don't take myself too seriously. I've just gone back to remembering why I started doing this thing.
The best, man.
And it's one of the things that we forget as guitar players, and especially young guitar players. It's not a competition.
Yeah.
I'm not here trying to be better than James. James is not here trying to be better than me. I'm going to enjoy watching him do his thing, and hopefully he'll enjoy watching me do my thing.
I will.
And we grow from each other. So I think it's just always important to have in your head why you started. You started playing guitar because you got some joy and some vibe out of it, and and that never goes away, and you've just got to remember it. And I think as far as the entertaining thing, I'm 47 years old now, and that's what happened when I was young and watching people play guitar. Like I'm with you, man. Like I'm a Steve Vai fanatic. And watching guys like that and Malmsteen and all of that. And
Do you do guitar spins in your
No,
set?
I do not.
That's a shame.
I'm too scared.
Yeah, throw that thing around.
Yeah, especially with Heath from Fender, who just who just gave me this on Monday. There's no way I'm going to be doing that just in case the strap comes off. That's right. You don't have to worry about it. So for me, that's everybody just let the music hit them and do what they did, and that's all I know. So tomorrow when I get up, especially with the band, it's a little bit harder with backing tracks, isn't it, James? to go nuts. But especially when you play with a band and you've got other human beings, because music's communication. That's what it is, and I love it when you can communicate with other players, and the entertainment thing just happens. I'll just try and keep this hand from being on the neck the whole time.
Yeah. Well, one of the best things I ever did for my playing was my final year at uni. I decided to just take my Telecaster with super fat strings. I normally used to play an Ibanez RG, low action, Floyd, all that stuff. So I took my Tele with me, no pick, and just an overdrive pedal. And I was like, I'm going to see where my playing is after I incorporate this. So every time I found a blues jam at a pub or something, I would take my guitar along, I'd plug in and just let it happen, which was scary at first, but by the end of that year, man, you learn some stuff.
Yes.
And you learn some stuff about, like, what can I do, since I can't go, what will work to make the people, cheer and dance and all that stuff. And you realize it's connecting with the instruments, and it's, man, I learned so much. There was a dude who had gone over to the States and played with Buddy Cox from Jimi Hendrix's band, and so he was kind of like passing on second and third hand Jimmy knowledge to us and stuff. Amazing. It was so much fun, man. Definitely recommend, really just throwing out your comfort, getting out of your comfort zone. I no longer even have a standard pick that I use. I just use whatever I can pick up, because if you're in a jam situation and someone hands you a guitar, you don't want to be like, I can only play, exactly this kind of guitar, this kind of pick.
Yeah, I think the improvisation thing, I love, Jeremy, that so much of your set is made up of that. I teach a lot as one of the things I do for work, and it's amazing how kind of just overlooked improvising is.
These days it's really overlooked.
Yeah, it's like there's just nothing that will make you, more importantly, a better musician, let alone a better guitarist, than getting into improvising, actually playing the guitar. I come from that camp as well. I used to just put on rock and roll songs in my room and just shred over them, my entire childhood. And it's such a wonderful, wonderful thing to help you grow as a musician. I think a lot of the young guys really miss out on. Yeah. It's like, all right, just play your guitar, and a lot of guys get paralyzed unless it's something that they've planned out. So I love that you have that.
Exactly the point that I was going to make. And you see so many of, and I'm not bagging anybody, but you see so many of these YouTube guitar players who are playing in a safe scenario or playing a tune that they've written, and they've written the solo for it. And I've done this with guys. I've gone, that's great. Love what you did on that record.
Just a reminder, there is a few minutes left of our 15-minute band on amplified sound. Thank you for your cooperation.
But when I've thrown those guys into an improvising situation, all of the stuff that they just did for me Like, you know, they might have a sweep picking lick or something that they wrote. They can't actually pull it out in a musical situation. Like, so what James just said, they get paralysed and they go, and they fall back on the old pentatonic lick. I think improvising allows you to take the stuff that you work on, that you spend your hard-earned hours, and actually earn the right. And I say this to guys, if I screw something up, I go, well, I haven't earned the right to do that yet. But improvising allows you to earn the right to use these cool ideas that you work your ass off on in a musical situation, which is why we learn stuff in the first place. You want to be able to just use it in a musical situation. So, and one of the greatest things that I did was a long time ago now, probably 15 years ago. I didn't want to, because I've always improvised, but I didn't want to go, here's this picking lick that I know, and I'm going to use this here. So what I did, and it took a couple of years to get my head around it, but I don't actually play licks anymore. So if you come and watch me play tomorrow, like in my solos, none of that's planned out. There's no, I'm going to do this pattern here. It just happens. There's no, I'm going to do this, 5-note per string shred thing. I don't do that anymore. I wanted to get away from having a bag of licks. And, we've all got a bag of licks, but I don't want to just go into a situation and go, I'm going to use this one and I'm going to use this one. So what happens when I play now, and I deliberately tried to develop it, is it's really just improvisation. So, there's no, I'm going to use this scale shape here and this scale. So it just happens. And I think that's a great point. You should try to, if you're not there, then try to do that. And it's exactly what James said. Just put on something that's easy to play over and try and stop
Good
yourself.
afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Our 15 minutes of silence is now concluded. Thank you for your cooperation.
Okay, wait.
Listen to it, and it's coming.
I want to know what would happen if you guys started to improvise together now.
Okay.
I'll
Put your money where your mouth is.
let me start it.
Sure.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Our 15 minutes of silence has now concluded. Thank you for your cooperation.
So we're in B.
None of that is a lick. There's no, this is a set pattern that I'm about to play. It just kind of happens. So, all right, now James is going to have a go. I'm going to play a different chord progression.
Oh my God.
It's going to be easy. So you can see there's no set thing that's happening. It's just, it's music, I played way too many notes. He played really nice stuff, but it's still music.
Just react, you know what I mean? Just react to what you're hearing.
That's right.
So one last thing before we wrap this up. What's a technique or a concept or something that you're working on with your playing at the moment?
Man, I'm really interested into the legato thing. I think I kind of just really felt a little bit more comfortable with it a few years ago, and it's just something that I'm trying to get better and always work at. I feel like, when I discovered the picking thing, I went way deep into that and realized that, legato brought a bunch of it kind of rolls the corners off the notes a little bit more. There's a bit more of a smooth kind of aspect. And I guess getting into the fusion thing, you hear all the silky legato stuff. So that's a technique that I'm really trying to get at, and working on the dynamics and the velocity involved in it, which I guess is a bit different to picking, where all of the kind of engine work is coming from the right hand. It's the total other way around. You've got all the work to go on the left hand, so you've kind of got to substitute the job of the pick over to the left hand, which I find really interesting. Like, for example, like the nice big long line. Like those kind of sounds where your right hand is just taking the holiday and you can put these nice big stringy kind of sequences together. That's something that I'm kind of always working on and practicing at the moment. Yeah.
It's a couple of things for me. Having been a big sweep picker for a lot of years, and I grew a bit tired of all of that sort of sound, but you can actually use mini sweeps or economy picking in conjunction with alternate picking, which allows you just to do ridiculous things. So I'll do some. So it's kind of groups of notes per string. So sometimes I'll use a 4 or a 5 to help me change strings, but you can do stuff like this, which is a combination of both. Which allows you just to do things at intense tempos. So sometimes it's straight alternate picking, but then sometimes you just sweep between strings, and it just you just go where you feel like going. And the other thing for me is always the multi-finger thing, because I did a lot of legato when I was younger, and I kind of wanted to do some wider sounds. I was showing you the pentatonic thing before, and you can just move in a really cool way. And it's got a sort of a percussive thing, so I like to do a lot of stuff like. So it just allows you, and you can do wide interval stuff as well. So it just the opposite. The opportunities are endless, and harmonically, it affords you a lot of crazy things. So I'm always sort of working on that, and a lot of that. If you guys want to get into that sort of stuff, I tap with just so I can hold the pick, because I don't have to do this. I tap with those two fingers, and one of the things you discover when you first start doing it is this finger is really weak. So a lot of it is just making sure you can get that note. And the great thing about that sort of malarkey is that once you do have that, you can add it into things like sweep picking. So where you used to go with that middle finger, you can now do 2 notes. So, it gives you a lot of opportunities for extra melodic content, and then just to do cool rock things like, and make cool rock faces.
I love it. Cool. Well, that ought to do it. So thank you guys for your time. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh, you're welcome, man. Thanks for everyone for coming.
Thanks for coming. I was looking forward to it because James and I have never sat in a room together before. We talk on social media all the time, so I was really looking forward to meeting him and hanging out with you again. So thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks guys.